Welcome into I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. This is the East Region Preview, ladies and gentlemen. We already finished up the South. Some interesting analysis there. I think we're going to, as we kind of go through Tyson, and we're going to finish with the Midwest and the West after this, we're going to talk through some different upsets, and we're going to give out a region winner, the region Cinderella, give some early second-round thoughts as we see it in our bracket. But, I want to address – I said I thought Duke got screwed. They had the hardest path. And, of course, all the analytics nerds are like, Duke got the easiest path. So maybe that's just my fandom coming out.
It's got to be. But I also think that there is no real true easy path. For me, if I had to pick one, I'm pretty happy if I'm Houston. I think I'm more happy if I'm Houston than I am if I'm everybody else.
So let's dive in here. Let's take a look as we get into the East region. If you're watching on YouTube, we're pulling this up on the screen. Tyson, Duke faces the winner of American or Mount St. Mary's. I think American's going to win that game. So
doesn't matter.
Do that what you will, but it doesn't matter. Duke's going to advance.
And then as you go down, dude, does this Mississippi State team, everyone's on Baylor, and I think, there's reasons for that. Baylor has excellent players, and they got guys whose names we know, and we're kind of cheering for a little revenge action in the Duke angle there. But Mississippi State's got the low-key vibe. It almost feels like a 𝐟𝐸𝐫𝐽 team. It's not quite the same thing, but it's like, damn, could these guys really do it?
What's interesting here, Tyson, and if this is going to be a early litmus test about the SEC, because if Oregon wins here, and Mississippi State, they've beaten some of the other teams, and Baylor, who's sitting there 19-14, not necessarily that record matters, especially when you get into this tournament, kind of throw everything out. But if Baylor's a team that beats Mississippi State, we're like, well, there's one SEC team that was a coin flip gone. Are they really as good as we think? I think that's a bad sign for the rest of the SEC. Now, that could be hyperbolic, but we've seen that before. We've seen Big Ten teams, just drop like flies at the early rounds. And it's like, oh, yeah, maybe the Big Ten wasn't as good, or maybe the Big 12 was a little bit overrated. That could be the case here. Now, the interesting thing, Tyson, for Baylor is I think they're super senior laden, right? And we just kind of know what Scott Drew can do. And so I have Baylor advancing, but I'm with you. I would not be surprised if this Mississippi State team gets past this and they advance after they had a horrendous year last year.
Yeah, I think it's a more fun matchup against Duke than the Baylor one. I think everybody, it's Roach and all this stuff, but I think Duke walks through Baylor, and I don't know if they'll be able to do that against Mississippi State. This next one here, this 5-12 matchup with Oregon and Liberty, can you explain to me I like Liberty just fine, but I feel like I'm missing something the way that this is being talked about.
Yeah. So, one, Dana Altman is super good in March. I think he's lost maybe one time in the opening round game in his career. So that's something to note here. But Liberty, Tyson, what's interesting is when we're going through Liberty here, and I got all the teams pulled up here. They're extremely efficient on offense, and they're extremely efficient on defense when it comes to limiting effective field goal percentage. So that's something good. They don't have a ton of tempo. They're not necessarily running up and down. They take care of the basketball. They're fine at forcing turnovers. But this Oregon team, it is tough for me when I'm kind of like, can Liberty do it? That's what you're going to run into some issues here, because Oregon 39th in KenPom when it comes to offensive rating. They're 31st in net according to KenPom. This is a solid Oregon team. They haven't necessarily blown anybody away. But I do think this is a trendy pick for a reason. Liberty has a chance.
I think so too. It's just I don't know how many times we have to see Oregon not win a conference tournament just to carry the conference in March Madness. It's not the Pac-12 anymore, but it might as well be.
So I got Oregon advancing. Are you pulling off the upset here? Are you predicting it?
I'm with Oregon. My upset comes in the next little quadrant here.
Okay, so let's get into that. Arizona, Akron. I don't see Arizona losing this game. Now, it should be noted that it's not been great for Tommy Lloyd and the Wildcats since they've joined. They dominated the Pac-12, right? I mean, he's been nothing but win since becoming the head coach at Arizona. It has not translated to March. But I talked about this could be a high-scoring game. We'll have our betting episode coming out later. Probably going to be on the over. I don't even care what the number is. Just a principal play I got to take. But that's something this is one you got to circle here, Tyson. Are you going to take the upset?
You're damn right I'm taking the upset. Woo! I'm zipping them up, baby. Okay. This is not what I want to happen. I'll be perfectly honest. I want a crazy Caleb Love run here in Arizona to do something. But I've seen this dude shoot his team out of games, and I've seen Akron just light up a scoreboard this season. And Arizona's 5-6 since 2025 started. And, yeah, they've played some really good teams, and they've had some good wins in that stretch. But, I'm not in love with the conference as a whole, and I don't think Arizona really like rises above that. But I think that if I got to have one here, Akron feels like the 13 to beat a 4 this year to me.
Okay, I like it. All right, you're calling your shot there. This one, BYU, VCU. This is where I'm calling my shot. I'm going to take VCU over BYU. And it's a scary pick for me, Tyson, because I do think BYU, we talked about their offense. We did it in the Big 12 preview. This is a team that can score on anybody. But, Tyson, they do not take care of the basketball. I mean, these guys are lackadaisical with it. I'm pulling up the turnover percentage right now. And VCU is somebody who gets after the ball, Tyson. I mean, we know Ryan Odom's extremely good coach. He's somebody who gets after it, but 17.6% turnover rate on offense for BYU. Then you compare it to VCU, Tyson. This defense is really staunch. I mean, 20.6% turnover rate on their defensive possession. So I think they're going to pressure the guards. It's not like BYU's out there taking care of it, valuing possession. Yeah, they can score the rock, but they want to get up and down. VCU limits that. I think the Rams advance here. Maybe this is the swan song for Ryan Odom, too. Maybe he takes over at Virginia. I don't know.
I mean, good for him if that's the case. I think the winner of this game has a really good shot at playing in the Sweet 16. And so do with that what you will when you're filling out your bracket. I like BYU in this matchup. I understand the appeal of VCU, but I mean, brother, we're at elevation, and we've got, a little maybe home cooking going on for the guys from BYU. Plus, like, I just watched them make 100 threes against Iowa State, and I feel like there's going to be opportunity to do that. You can take away 20% of our possessions. We're shooting 80% threes.
Yeah, that is tough, because VCU wins the conference championship. They got to go out to Denver at elevation, like you said. BYU loses early.
VCU lost to Dayton, dude.
Yeah, well, Dayton was like a darling early. You remember that, like back in the conference tourney era?
I mean,
the holiday tourney, I should say. I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, Dayton could be the team."
I mean, the A10 does well in the tournament, so BYU could be in some trouble.
Talk about the Grizz in Wisconsin. Is this the year, Tyson, that our Montana Grizzlies can put up a number here?
Oh, wouldn't that be something? Montana got smoked by Oregon. They got smoked by Tennessee. They got smoked by Houston. So all of these like high-level games that they've played, they have not shown up or played well. I think it's a tough draw for Wisconsin just based on the fact that, like, again, I thought they looked gassed at the end of the game against Michigan, and then you turn around quickly to play a Montana team who it's not a super deep rotation, but they got guys that can put the ball in the hoop. Montana can't rebound, and they don't turn the ball over. And I think that that's really what's holding them off from being a popular upset pick here, because if you just watch the games of the Big Sky Conference, especially the conference championship game, there was like a 10-minute stretch where it was like, oh my gosh, these guys are the best shooting team ever, but they can also go through huge lulls. And again, offensive rebounding is the name of the game if you want to pull some of these upsets. I think the Grizzlies were like 347th in that metric.
Yeah, that's tough. So we both got Wisconsin. We're going against our hometown teams. But Tyson, let's close this region here. St. Mary's against Vanderbilt. This is a fascinating game to me. Vanderbilt can get up and score with anybody. St. Mary's wants to limit possession. St. Mary's is physical. They're old. That's what we know. They are under Randy Bennett. If they can limit the offense of Vanderbilt, I think they're going to be able to cruise by here. So I'm going to take St. Mary's. Now, this is a team that's disappointed in the past. So it's hard to overlook that, when they get to this moment, it's not like they've necessarily gone on a run in a long time. Vanderbilt on the other end, this is a new culture. This is kind of all new. Some of the guys, Hogarth's coming over from Michigan State that's expected to make a run in March. But for everybody else, it is interesting if they're going to be able to do that on this stage, Tyson. So I'm going to take St. Mary's and their crew to beat Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think last year was the year St. Mary, they were going to the Final Four. Like, the bracket set up perfectly. They were playing a bunch of teams that didn't feel like could play with them. And then this year they, don't cruise through the regular season in the West Coast Conference the way that we were kind of hoping. And then they lose, obviously, in the conference championship game to Gonzaga. And we'll talk about the Zags as we kind of do some more episodes here. But I think St. Mary's wins this game. I think Vanderbilt is that what sucks to draw, though. I think if you're St. Mary's, like, that's a tough a first round. But again, like, nobody in the SEC plays like St. Mary's, and so that's tough too.
Yeah, I mean, and according to KenPom, St. Mary's 22nd in net. Tyson, 22nd best team in the country. Vanderbilt down at 49. So that's a big gap here for a 7-10 matchup. And I think a lot of that has to do with St. Mary's 8th in defensive rating, which is strong. And you compare that to Vanderbilt. Yes, they have a strong offense, but 30th in offensive rating. So it's not necessarily like they're going to be able to blow them away.
Speaking of strong offenses, Brad, we got Bama.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama, Robert Morris, fun story, but even without Grant Nelson, I think Bama just blows past them.
They'll be fine. I think Bama's fine without Grant for a couple rounds, but I mean, I don't think they're. I think they're liable to be out of this thing by the Sweet 16, or in the Sweet 16 if he can't get healthy, which feels weird. I think Mark Sears can carry and all that stuff, but like, it's not that long ago that it was like, damn, Mizzou just put 140 points on this Alabama team. I think they'll, again, without Grant Nelson, if they end up playing at St. Mary's, they'll be fine because St. Mary's is going to score 80 points and Bama's going to score 85. But as you get on and you keep going through this thing, like if they run into a Wisconsin, they run into a BYU, somebody who just puts the ball in the hoop, it's going to be a long night.
Okay, so that's going to do it for our first round, going through everything. Tyson, but what we're going to do, early second round thoughts. And it's interesting, we're a little bit more simpatico when it came to the South, so this is a little bit easier, but let's just kind of talk through everything. Is there any way that you see Duke losing? You have Mississippi State. I got Baylor. Is there any way that you see Duke dropping that one?
No, I don't. I think Duke's going to win this region. I'm going to be a little chalky here, but look, man, you can run as many computer models as you want. The only ones you need to know is 17 of the last 18 champions were 1 seeds or the University of Connecticut. And Duke was awesome this season. They have great players as well. Oregon is a team that I'm circling here that I think can win 2 games. If you're looking to get some value there. But the bottom half of this East region is fascinating. I think there's 3 teams in the bottom that I can see challenging Duke for a trip to the Final Four.
Who do you got?
I think BYU, I think Wisconsin, I think Alabama.
Wisconsin, Alabama. Okay.
All 3 of those teams can beat each other. But as far as like upsets go, I'm going with the Zips.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, Tyson. So you got the reason why I guess you think Oregon's can win too, because you got them facing Akron instead of Arizona. I got Arizona facing off against Duke in the Sweet 16, little rematch from earlier in the season. I think VCU, they're going to drop to Wisconsin, although I'm not necessarily Wisconsin. It's hard for me to believe in Wisconsin, man. I'll tell you. But Tanji's a difference maker. I think he got tired, like you said, the Big Ten tournament. But now you get some rest, and then you get 2 games, and you get some rest. Maybe they can improve upon that. The St. Mary's Bama thing for me, I do think, Tyson, if everything goes wrong for Alabama, that's a game they lose. Now, I don't think that can necessarily happen because St. Mary's, I don't think, has a good enough offense. Now, anybody who plays Alabama's defense, though, is going to be able to score. But it's just, I'd prefer you to have a better offense than that. But, Tyson, let's get into region winner. We both have Duke, so I don't think that's a shock to anybody. We're going chalk here. But region Cinderella, this is what I want to talk through because you're pulling off the upset here, Akron over Arizona, but you have them losing to Oregon the next round. So I think let's kind of look at it from this because I have the VCU upset over BYU, but that's my upset there. Who's the most likely team that can actually make a run to the Sweet 16 or even further?
I think Oregon. I think Dana Altman can beat Duke. I don't think he's going to, but I think that's on the table. Super athletic team, travels well. We did this in the Big Ten conference game or conference tournament where you kind of went through and it was we went through who could win and why. And it was Oregon keeps popping up in all of these metrics as being better than we think. And I know a 5 seed making a run doesn't actually count. So give me Money Williams, give me Austin Patterson, give me the University of Montana Grizzlies putting 145 points on Wisconsin and then smoking whoever they play next.
I love it. I think for me, Tyson, it's going to be VCU. If I'm looking at everything here, because let's just say, Wisconsin does drop the ball. Montana plays well. They pull off the upset. And, it's not a likely scenario here. But if VCU beats BYU, that's an upset. If they beat Wisconsin, that's an upset there in the Sweet 16. Let's say they face a St. Mary's team after St. Mary's beats Alabama. Or let's say they even play Alabama. We know Alabama, they can get up and down, but they can turn the rock over. VCU can pull off that upset if their defense is still there. So for me, the Cinderella here, if I'm really looking at it, is VCU. Of course, I don't have that, but I think they're the most likely in this region.
Yeah, I mean, it's all fun and games to talk Cinderellas until it's time to fill out the bracket.
Exactly. All right. Speaking of filling out the bracket, we're still going to break everything down. Midwest is coming next. If you haven't listened to our South breakdown, go check that out. We'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.